more Israeli airstrikes have killed dozens of people across Gaza. But US-led efforts to secure a ceasefire appear to be gaining momentum. Hamas says it is ready to start talks immediately. Israel says Hamas is seeking unacceptable changes to the draft plan, but it will send a team to join negotiations in Qatar.
As hopes grow for a ceasefire, Israeli forces continue to target areas in Gaza. A pre-dawn airstrike in western Gaza City left behind debris and rubble throughout a school where displaced Palestinians had found shelter.
We were woken up at 3 a.m. by a very loud sound. We thought the bombing was right on our tent. Thankfully, we got out and found that the neighbor's tent had been hit. The martyrs were lying on the ground. This scene has become familiar to us, given the situation we're living in. We've become used to the cruelty around us.
In the east of Gaza City, families search for a final resting place for their loved ones. With the death toll rising, space for burials in the Al Tufan neighborhood is rapidly shrinking.
We don't have the materials to make proper grave markers. There's no cement, no resources. We're just using plastic and wood, and we bury them.
Washington has proposed a new Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal. The Palestinian militant group Hamas has responded positively to mediators. Many Gazans are hopeful this could lead to much-needed relief.
We're happy that Hamas responded positively, and we hope that a truce will be announced and that the crossings eventually reopen so we can receive flour.
We want these negotiations to be serious and lead to a truce, to a ceasefire. Otherwise, it's a waste.
US President Donald Trump is due to host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday. Trump said he's optimistic that there could be a deal next week. For the people of Gaza, every moment is critical as they anxiously await the end of this war.
And for more, I'm joined now in the studio by DW Middle East analyst Shani Rozanes. Shani, good to have you with us. So there are talks happening today, indirect talks between Hamas and Israel, but Hamas demands changes to the current proposal. Please walk us through those changes.
Well, Hamas has three key issues that they still want to discuss. The first one is the humanitarian aid system. They want to go back, restore the old system that was led by the UN forces, different organizations and many other NGOs who are supporting that, instead of what Israel, with the US, has tried to instate in the last months very poorly through what is called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. We've heard a lot of reports about people dying on the way to get aid. We know this is not a very well-functioning system. Hamas wants to restore the old system, and Israeli stand on that is quite uneased. Israeli stand was always that Hamas is using the aid in order to leverage its power on the population, that it's taking over the aid when it's being delivered by the UN. So we'll have to see politically. It's not going to be easy for Netanyahu to agree to any concessions on that front. The second point is the withdrawal points of the Israeli military during those 60 days of ceasefire. Where exactly will the Israeli military stand? I think this is an issue that's going to be easier to compromise on. And the third and key issue here is the guarantees that Hamas want to the end of the war. Because Hamas's biggest concessions, the way they see it, is that they're willing to even keep negotiating about another temporary agreement without seeing a clear end in sight. Because for Israel, that's always been, we're more than 20 months into this terrible war, this has always been the hardest part for Israel, to find and agree some sort of a solution for the end of this war. And Hamas say, okay, if we are going into these negotiations, we need to know that this will lead to an end. We need more guarantees from the Qataris, from Egypt, from the US, that can tell us that we are not getting again into the same scenario as we were in the previous ceasefire that ended in March. So this is where Hamas feel they need more support, and we'll have to see if the two sides manage to find some agreements.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those talks today, we'll see how they go. And the point is, of course, I mean, is there any point in having these talks when you have all these sticking points? This is a US-led ceasefire proposal. What does Israel want?
Well, that's a good question. I think Netanyahu going now to D.C., he is going to plan to meet President Trump tomorrow. He hopes to see that this Gaza is just the first solution for Gaza. It is basically the key for anything else coming, for the regional new drawing of the map as Trump would like to see it. Following what Trump and the Israelis sees as success in Iran, they want to see a new vision to the Middle East that brings in more countries into the Abraham Accords, for example, and bring bigger peace. But they need first to solve Gaza. And this is where this is not an easy issue for the Israelis. For a long time, they're still lacking any vision, any agreement on where this might be heading. And this is, we'll have to see how much pressure the Americans will put on maybe getting Israel to agree, to some of the Qataris that are very close to the U.S. And some of the Egyptians offers. This will be the determining factor. We know that Trump can put a lot of pressure. We've seen it also with Iran. He supports Israel, but he expects in return some compliance. We need to see if it's going to work this time as well.
And of course, we also know that Trump already announced that there could be a deal as soon as next week. Is that realistic, or is this just Trump being Trump?
Well, I think the Americans in general, they always bring some good, amount of wishful thinking into this, hoping that it will help unstuck the situation. But what I've been hearing in Israel is that there's a lot of optimism that this could work. Otherwise, Netanyahu would have not have ended up going to D.C. as he is. He would not have let the delegation to go to Doha and try to find compromises. So I think also from the pressure of the Israeli public, it's going to be very hard for Netanyahu to explain why there is no deal on the table. Israelis are very much pushing for him to do that. There's also an understanding in the Israeli military there's not much left militarily to do in Gaza. So we're going to have to see. The next days will be very critical.
All right. Shani Rozanes, our DW Middle East analyst. Thank you so very much, Shani.
You're welcome.